So this is actually the boss's gun. He gave it to us for review because I've been wanting to get my hands on this for quite some time. I like the single action onlys. We'll talk about why here in a minute. But just to kind of give you an introduction and tell you what we're talking about here, I love it. This is a great gun. There's a lot of things about it that make it, I think, a perfect 2011 as far as reliability goes. It's a comfortable gun to shoot. It's really accurate, and it's very easy to get accurate and quick shots. So that being said, let's go into some of the features. Just for comparison, we have a standard 226 Legion. That's just for trigger comparison, really, because from the trigger guard forward, really from the chamber forward, it's the exact same as a 226 standard Legion, and from the kind of the swell of the palm here down, it's the exact same as a 226 Legion. There's no difference really in the grip or in the barrel or anything like that. There's not different machining on the slide. The entire difference is in the trigger mechanism. It's a single action only, so to put it in simple terms, this gun functions like a 1911. It cannot be fired with the hammer down. You must cycle the gun and load around. Both these guns are clear, by the way. Load around and have the safety off, and then release the hammer to fire the gun. It'll fire one round and then cycle the hammer back. This has a manual safety, which other SIGs do not. So you can flick that up just like a 1911, and the gun will not fire. Flick it down and the gun will fire. So it functions exactly like a 1911. That's really the best way I can say it. One of the older, if not one of the oldest methods for a single action pistol is the a semi-automatic pistol is the single action only. It's a good, reliable design, and they have improved upon it since the original 1911s as far as like just a little bit of play in the tolerance, so it'll still function with some gum in it. Another thing that came about in recent years was the 2011, which is a 9mm double stack 1911 style of platform. Only problem with those is they have a lot of reliability issues. You can get a good one, but you're going to pay a lot of money, like $2,500 for like an ATI or an STI, sorry, or one of those Terran Tactical versions. To get everything, they make sure all the springs work. It's going to feed reliably with all different kinds of ammo. If you buy a cheaper one, a lot of times they have problems with the springs. You have to run plus P through them, or you can't run plus P through them because they won't feed reliably. This does not have that problem. All the same reliability that you've seen out of the P226 for many, many years, you get in this gun. It's just a single action only and has a little bit better trigger because of that. So let's look at the trigger. You can notice that this is SIG's 90-degree 90-degree break flat face design, much different from the extreme curve of the standard 226. That is because of the single action only. This breaks at exactly 90 degrees. So you can see there's very little take up, hits that wall right there, and then when the hammer releases, it is exactly at 90 degrees. Very light trigger pull. We'll show you the reset here because just like with the 1911, the reset is very, very short and very slight. That was it right there. You can almost barely hear it, but you can feel it really well if your finger's on the trigger. It's very tactile. That's a lot different from the 226 trigger where you can just squeeze that bad boy through action as many times as you want, and it will, of course, then cycle and go into single action. The SAO just takes that first step out, so it's always in single action. The other thing with the 226 standard is, even in single action, there is a lot of take-up. A lot of take-up to that trigger before it gets to that nice, crisp, clean wall. That's really the only reason we wanted to talk about the 226 is for that comparison. This functions a lot like a 1911, except for the trigger. It is a very light trigger. It's got a very clean break, and in that regard, it is similar to a 1911, but the trigger does not feel like a 1911. 1911s are straight back. A lot of them have either completely flat trigger faces or just slightly curved, a little bit of a crescent. This is still a hinge trigger. Very similar to what you might find on the 320X5. Same trigger shoe. And about the same level of play or movement. The brake, however, feels very different because the 320X5 still has internal safeties that the trigger has to move out of the way, whereas this is just releasing a spring. That's all it does. The manual safety is probably my favorite manual safety out of any gun that I've come across. It is big enough and comfortable enough. It's very easy to actuate. I mean, extremely easy to actuate. It's comfortable. It feels natural. When it is down, it will stay down. That detent is perfect. It will not come up unless you consciously make the effort to flick it up. It's easy to put down, and when it is down, it creates this very natural ledge for your thumb to sit on. It keeps you off of that slide release, so the gun will function even more reliably. If you're someone like me, I have ginormous hands. My hands just eat any gun. I mean, I can get all around the whole thing, and I often thumb down the slide release. That is not good because then your slide doesn't lock open when it's empty. You run it dry. You need to stay off that slide release, and the gun will run as it was intended to. This gun keeps you from thumbing down the slide release, so I like it. It's very comfortable. Big, generous beaver tail, as a lot of the new 26s have. Just keeps your grip good. Sight radius, bore axis is not a big deal. Typically, I don't like the taller guns just because I'm used to a much shorter bore axis, something easier to point and shoot. But the Sig is very easy to do so. I mean, maybe a couple rounds of warm-up, and you'll be good to go with that. Sight radius is excellent, same as the full-size 226. It's really easy to be accurate with, even at a little bit longer distance, especially with that trigger and the single action. It is just an excellent gun to shoot. Uses, I would say primarily range use. If you're looking for a service weapon or a more tactical gun, this will do the trick. I mean, it is basically a 9mm 1911 with some other stuff going on. So if you want to run it in that fashion, it will perform. But I would always prefer a striker fire gun to something that has a manual safety, just because you don't want to get in freak out mode in a self-defense situation and forget that thumb safety. People do it. Even the best of us will forget a thumb safety if you're in a competition or something and you're trying to giddy up and go. I'd rather just not have a safety. Also, you got to keep one in the chamber realistically and it cocked and locked. I know there's a thumb safety and it's probably not going to come down, but I'm just a nervous fella, so I don't want to have an exposed hammer cocked and locked on a service weapon or a carry gun. It's just me. It's personal opinion. Say about that what you will. Ask your local instructor or whatever. But I prefer to just not have an exposed hammer. So I would say this is more of a range gun. We've taken it out to the range many, many times. We probably shot it more than the boss would like. Sorry. But it shoots so well in the range. It is so easy to be accurate with and shoot just really, really fast without sacrificing any of your accuracy or proficiency. So I would say it leans more towards like a really nice range gun, but you can use it for tactical purposes if you should want to. I mean, you know, if you're used to using a 1911 and you want a 9mm, this may be a really good choice because it fills your hand well and it performs well, and you'd be used to that manual safety. If you've been training with it for years, then it's no problem to you. So that is your decision. As always, get your own training, formulate your own opinion, and make your decision based on that. You know, I can't tell you how to live your life, same as you can't tell me how to live mine, because I like things different than you like things. So figure out what gun you want, get that gun, and train with that gun. That's the most important thing. Be able to use your weapon to the best of your ability. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. I'm Dean with Old English Outfitters, and we will see you next week.